hi everyone. Good afternoon or good evening from wherever you guys are joining in. I think we are still getting people dropping in and out. Cool. So let's get started. So a quick introduction about MoEngage. For those who do not know, we are an intelligent customer engagement platform. So what it means is we help consumer-first brands engage, onboard, retain users, and in a way help them get more from their LTV and grow their business. So more that's a small intro about MoEngage, but I would like to take this opportunity to welcome Clarence again. Hey Clarence, thank you so much for joining us. Could you give a quick introduction about Gametion, because I'm sure people would know or heard about Ludo King. So yep, a quick intro about yourself and Gametion would be good.
Definitely. Thanks, Bharadwaj, and thanks, Sandeep, for this opportunity here. Hi, everyone. I'm Clarence Pereira, and I've been in the games industry for over 15 years now, with over a decade of experience with the Walt Disney Company. Currently, I am with Gametion Technologies as a senior producer, managing various products and including Ludo King. A quick introduction of Gametion Technologies. Gametion Technologies has been there in the gaming space for over a decade now. Vikas Jaiswal, who is the founder and the CEO of this company, incorporated this company in 2010. Initially started off with online gaming, couple of years. In 2013, he moved over his focus to smartphone development, and since then he's created about over 20 titles, and finally it was Ludo King in 2016, which we see has gone super viral. And again, it's been over 4 years now, and yeah, the product is super shining. So that's about Gametion.
Cool. Yeah. So before we start, we're going to be talking about monetization strategy. We're going to be talking about growth. We're going to be talking about a bunch of other things which Clarence do day in day out as part of his role, plus other insights from Gametion, right? But before I start with the question, I actually have a question for the audience. So let me launch a poll. Yeah. Here you go. Hope you guys are able to see this. So I just want to understand, I'm sure all of you might be playing some sort of game on daily basis. So how has it been for you guys? Do you play less than an hour, or between 1 to 2 hours, or you're someone who plays games all day? Yeah, interesting. We're getting some good numbers. I think we have greater response for people in 1 to 2 hours. Wow. Good. Interesting. Cool. So, Clarence, while people are responding to this, I'll shoot my first question to you. So definitely, there is no doubt, right? Gaming industry or gaming vertical seen an exponential growth in this entire last 3 months of lockdown, Corona, and basically the pandemic period. So how has it impacted your business? Could you help us with some insights?
Sure, definitely. I think firstly, absolutely agree with the during the pandemic, the gaming industry has definitely seen a huge boom and a sudden surge in the number of users. I'm sorry, am I audible?
Yep. Please go ahead. Yeah.
So yeah. So I'm saying absolutely agree to the point that gaming industry has been doing really great. A sudden surge in the user base has definitely kind of spiked all the numbers for us. This has definitely translated into kind of a very positive growth for our overall business. I think if I have to talk about our overall metrics, like the DAUs, the install numbers, the engagement with the app, and the revenue, it's actually seeing over a 3x growth. So overall, positive growth.
Interesting. So let's say if I have to ask this question 3 months, let's say if you're having this conversation 3 months ago, probably in February or March, what would your response be? Say, hey, how is the number, increased? You briefly mentioned about 3x, but could you help us with some more insights in terms of MAU or anything that you're open to share?
So definitely, I think as mentioned, 3x growth. Definitely, sharing numbers will definitely give an impact of how this has grown. So starting with as you see about DAUs, right? So before the pandemic, we were kind of cruising around 15 million daily active users, and after COVID, this has gone to about 50 million daily active users, and that's actually more than a 3x growth. Apart from that, if I have to talk a little bit about the engagement with our game, previously we used to see the players used to typically play for about 30 to 35 minutes on a daily basis, and since the COVID has kind of hit us, this number has definitely grown and has grown over to 50 minutes and above daily, and that's again magical for us. Uh,
Yeah.
Apart from that, if I have to talk a little bit about our, the revenue from a revenue standpoint, the revenues definitely have grown 2.5x fold, and yeah, that's some of the numbers that I can share today.
Yeah, interesting. Hey, thanks for joining us. Okay, Clarence, I think people are not able to hear you clearly. Maybe, yep, I think that should help.
If this helps, guys.
Yeah, cool. Hey, thanks, Kumar, for pointing it out. Do let us know if you have any difficulty or any questions. Feel free to use the window to post your questions. Yeah. So definitely during these time, most of the brands have started focusing on building long-term relationships. And how was it for you guys? How are you guys engaging with your users to build those relationships?
Right. I think building relationship is great. It is very, very important. So, one of the very important factors is the engagement. Since we all know that, engagement kind of drives monetization,
Yep.
and hence every common, every company around us, works upon this factor, which is basically the engagement factor. And I think we also following the same thumb rule where we are kind of communicating with our players to kind of provide them with specific or those kind of updates or the features that they have been awaiting for. And in a way, we kind of communicate with the players, using push notifications and in-app messaging, kind of trying to have them back to our game. Uh, I think since COVID, I think we definitely have seen a huge increase in the kind of push notifications that we used to kind of send out. And interestingly, the numbers with regards to the number of people who are kind of opening up the app has definitely grown over the previous numbers that we used to see earlier. I think in short, it's a great response, and this actually kind of directly relates to the time the players are able to kind of spend in games. uh, so there is a very interesting thing that happened with our game. One of our game modes, which is play with friends, uh, we've seen a huge jump in this. Kind of, I would say about more than 10x growth
Yep.
in consumption. And one of those reasons which has definitely impacted is we have this challenge push notifications and the in-app push notification, in-game push notifications that kind of reach out to these players, and that's how they kind of engage.
Interesting. So you brought about two important channels, right? One on push notification and then about in-app notification. So what I've heard or what we're largely hearing from the brands outside, be it gaming or others, is people are more conscious about the kind of communication that they're sending out today, because they don't want obviously sound tone deaf, or they're just ensuring that because COVID has impacted across the globe, right? So people have seen positive impact as well as negative impact. So what are some of those things change in your communication strategy in terms of how you use, be it push or in app?
That's a very interesting thing that when you try to kind of intend to push notify your players quite often it tries to kind of kind of not they don't kind of like it most of the times. But after the pandemic, is what we have been observing. I believe the time spent on a smartphone or these digital devices is has gone up considerably. So what happens here is that somehow you really do not have much things to do, and at this point in time, the previous push notifications, the way we used to send them, and the ones that we have kind of increased the number of push notifications that we send, and to add to this, the number of people who are actually kind of coming back to our app, the numbers have kind of the results are kind of better than the previous push notification results.
Interesting. Yeah.
I think it's great, going great. Maybe it's just the timing just working out well.
Yeah, cool. So, in fact, my next question is, on those things. So, obviously, when you create such campaigns, segmentation plays a larger role, right? So, how do you go about segmenting your user groups? Is it largely based on your LTV or based on certain actions? Could you help us understand a bit more on this piece?
Definitely. I think segmentation is a great piece to talk about. We definitely do segmentation. We kind of, create those in-game events and the various regions that players play in from. And based on that, accordingly, we'll have to, kind of push different kind of new features to the players, kind of do certain tests so that it can reach out to different players or maybe the larger audience. We even do, kind of ad monetization strategies, kind of not really, go, really too much on ads or, too less on ads, just be, nice to them. Uh, and very important in our purchases and, kind of drive different kind of offers or I would say different kind of limited deals and specify to a specific set of audience. So I think segmentation is I think highly important when it comes to doing the right monetization or the new introduction of features. So I think segmentation plays a huge role. Um, I think with regards to maybe approach that we could say on segmentation, I think it would kind of depend upon a product to product, and it is basically how the user base is on those products. So
Yes.
everything is going to be different. So there is no typical way of kind of segmenting users, but I think it's more or less while once you kind of start the in-game note events that you kind of capture of these users, that's how you kind of set your segmentations.
Interesting, interesting. So I just have a follow up on that. So uh, largely, compared to other games that are there in the market, I think Ludo King, one great story that I've heard or what I'm experiencing in my family is also right. So it's not just targeting one particular group. So you have smaller kids playing it, you have young adults like us playing it, or at the same time our parents who are slightly at the senior age, they are also playing it, right? So how could you share some insights on that age or demographics, or how you guys segment or talk about these things, or slightly differently?
Okay, so this is a very sensitive topic of kind of capturing
Yeah.
user information. From what we have been following at our company here, it is very important that we do not get into kind of segment players based on these different age groups, because we as a app for Ludo King, we have been focusing more on how happy a player can be playing a game, be it a 3-year-old kid or 5-year-old kid versus a 70-year-old elder,
Yeah.
right? So everyone needs to have an enjoyed experience, and yes, with regards to we do not collect any of those demographics.
Got it. Got it. Got it. So, can you talk a little bit about how the MAU patterns, for games in general, or perhaps Ludo King, is it consistent across the days, or is there been are you seeing some kind of fluctuation? How these patterns have changed during this entire COVID period?
All right. I think image is a great thing. If I have to, specifically talk about, probably a growth pattern for MAUs in games, overall there is no specific pattern. It is either kind of, growing or kind of, reducing based on the engagement. Basically, it is again a factor which is kind of derived from engagement. Although I think there's a great matrix that I would like to share with everyone today. I think very insightful and you know uh, 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 or based on this, it also kind of reflects your product's success around in the market. So with regards to Ludo King, the ratio of your DAU versus your MAU is something that is fun to look at. With Ludo King, we are seeing this ratio to be around 1:4, 4.5, and I
Wow.
feel, yeah, that is a magical number. I think that's one of the best products that I have come across, all my life in this industry.
Yeah.
Uh, I think it is such a strong ratio. Generally, I have seen products, having ratios around 1:6 and 1:10. But something like 1:4, 4.5, it is absolutely, magical that, players are highly engaged and, they are having fun time with the product. So coming back, with a few numbers of which I could share on MAU. So our monthly active users prior to COVID were around 70 million, and after COVID, this has gone to about 185 million. So yeah, that's about it. We've
That's
been growing.
definitely tremendous growth. Yep.
Yes, so we've been growing from the time that I have been, kind of seeing Ludo King from the initial days, along with Vikas. So I've been only seeing a growth pattern of, I would say, about 2 to 5%, month on month, definitely.
Interesting. So actually, the next question is again to the audience. So I'm going to be launching a poll again, and hope you guys could see it any second now. Yeah. So I'm sure some of you guys might have played Ludo King or some of the other games that I've listed here. So which of these games that you guys have played, in the recent past, say about 3 months or so? Interesting. We have some newspaper readers also, I guess, because I'm seeing some response on Sudoku. Interesting. Yeah, great. So, Clarence, in fact, my question is actually on this, right? So, obviously, Ludo King is definitely something that people talk a lot about these days. So, apart from Ludo King, Gametion offers a lot of other games, like example, say, Carom or Sudoku. So, how was these faring against Ludo or in general? Could you talk about other games that you guys offer?
Definitely. I think one thing to note here, the success of Ludo King has, kind of added, given an advantage and a huge positive boost for all our products. I think it's we start knowing, the companies start knowing from the products. So I think both our products are doing great and showing good success. I think specifically, if I have to talk about, I'd like to actually, specifically talk about Karen King as a product. Since COVID, or a little earlier than COVID, I've been seeing this product as well. So it's exceptionally doing great on the store, and we've been seeing the all the metrics to actually go kind of above 2x growth, which is almost very close to how Ludo King has been growing. So I think Karen King is kind of showing us as a a promising product, and something that can be as big as, or actually bigger than, Ludo King also. So we're all working towards that as well.
Interesting point. So, in fact, I play more Carom than Ludo King because that is closer to me, right? So, So definitely you talked about, a huge growth in terms of numbers. You also mentioned about somewhere between 3x to 5x, and you talked about actual numbers also, right, in terms of millions. So now things are kind of stabilizing, and hoping to see things become the new normal, what people are referring to these days. So what are some of those strategies, or your approach, or some of these initiatives that you guys are doing today to ensure that the growth is sustained, even after COVID? Or could you talk about some of those? Yeah.
Definitely. I think this is, I think, one of the most interesting questions
Yeah.
at this point in time, and one of the most highly challenging questions, I believe. So I think since it's a highly challenging situation for developers or any kind of brand companies, kind of work towards retaining these players, we would have to really come up with really evolving features that keep these players engaged. So I think there is no direct answer to how are we going to kind of engage these players even after things get back to normalcy. So the thought here is to kind of strive towards giving the best to our players, and I think some things that I could speak of as a user. What we used to see users prior to COVID, the players the way they used to engage, right? I think the users then were more focused uh, with actually playing the game, enjoying the game, having fun with the product. But I think these days, I think the players have a lot of time, as we speak about, right? We have a lot of time in the world right now to spend a lot of time on the apps. So I think the way players play the games is, with a kind of a, an eye to detail, where we've been seeing that, these players are kind of writing us huge emails and, really long reviews, and the pattern has kind of been different from the users that used to kind of engage prior to COVID and now. So it's even more challenging because we finding that these players are kind of those type of functions which we actually have in development houses, like the QAs or the quality assurance, or the design factors. So I think overall, it's like we definitely have a set standard, or a strategy to approach or set a roadmap. But now this roadmap has to be kind of looked into being super agile,
Yeah.
and kind of work towards what players are really requiring at this point in time. So you
Exactly.
not need to kind of be super agile this time.
Cool. So I think two primary takeaways from what you've shared is, one, how do you make the products sticky, continue to improve on in the development side of it? How do you keep your teams on top of things, be it testing or the other practices that you mentioned, be it agile or Scrum and stuff. So ensuring that the product is sticky for people to keep them engaged, and on the communication piece, right? So
Right.
great. Those are two key learnings for myself from what you've said. So you mentioned about monetization a bit when I asked about the segmentation piece, right? So what are your thoughts on the monetization model, and how does it vary according to the games? Could you talk about some of those?
Yeah, sure. I think monetization models are of kind of various types. I think we focus on advertising as a model, and in-app purchase monetization models. Um, I think definitely the monetization model will differ from game to game, the genre, the core design of the product, the meta game involved in it, or various other factor aspects that kind of make a game, make one game. Uh, right? So I think I'll just speak a little bit about about how these numbers have been kind of been different for us prior to COVID and now after COVID. So there has been a slight, a little change with regards to the revenue kind of generated from advertising versus the in-app purchases.
Got
So I could roughly say we have been seeing an increase of over 7 to 10%. in the in-app contribution versus, I would say, in-app contribution to our daily revenue, which is basically, versus the linear growth of advertising. So I think in-app purchase is actually doing good these days.
Interesting. So, in fact, in one of my earlier discussion with other leaders, so one point that came out was saying, hey, game is not really a concern right now, as in for people to spend money on. Currently, with the entire situation, people are trying to conserve cash and they're not spending too much on recreational activities or games, perhaps, right? But from what I've been hearing from you, I think people are actually spending more on platforms, spending on in-app purchases and stuff. So interesting point. So
I think,
what
just to add here, Bharadwaj, one thing. I think it all correlates to the time actually spent within the apps. So
no,
I think the time, more and more time that players are getting actually engaged
yep,
is, what is kind of, driving really well for the games industry, I would say, for most of us, definitely.
yep. So I think that's a key takeaway for the audience also, I guess. Make the engagement your best game so that people don't have to worry about paying you more, right? So in a way you are increasing your LTV there. Cool. So Clarence, what are some of the other models that you have explored, say gaming as a service, or what are some of the challenges that you have seen in those models that is?
So I think today most developers kind of focus on a monetization model using game as a service.
Yep.
Definitely, it makes sense because which is kind of this directly supports a free to play approach. Any game, be it any game. So again, with regards to game as a service, we have integrated this in Ludo King as well, and themes are a great example for game as a service. Themes we have introduced in our game, and this has been really working out really well. I think themes are very popular. It is kind of a side mood kick, or a slight change in the mood while playing the game. So I think it is doing great. And yes, in terms of contribution to the ratio in our daily revenues, it is doing great. Uh,
Interesting.
yes. So
Interesting.
um, uh, talking about challenge part, I think game as a service, it's definitely a challenging piece that you need to put together. I think the challenge is driven from the design aspect of gaming, where I believe you really need to get to be very sure of to introduce a lot of items and different type of loot boxes or different kind of drops within the game, different kind of customizing elements, and moreover, for a better engagement, you need to have different kind of filters or different kind of variety and tasks that to be performed by these players. So kind of having them engaged playing the game, while on top of that you're adding different layers of items that you're introducing, and that's getting valued at a certain you know um, in-app purchase, or probably via the ad monetization.
Mm.
So overall, it should be a value generated against the price, and should complement, which should kind of sound like a value for money deal.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. So, the another question that I have is, if you say, hey, gaming vertical, be it in India or largely in Asia, despite having a larger user base, didn't really enjoy a huge market. But with current, COVID situation, like you pointed out, things have been improving, right? So, what do you think in the future holds for gaming industry?
Right. I think um, gaming in India, I think definitely is really big, and India is definitely considered as one of the biggest markets for the user base that we have worldwide when compared to the worldwide markets. So I think one of the key takeaways is basically definitely with regards to the downloads that it kind of drives versus the top the top markets like the US or China. So India is driving great numbers. Recently came across a APANI report which actually stated in the month of March India had the most downloaded apps in the whole world. So that's the way to go. Uh, but slightly on the contribution of revenue from our country. So I think that's still a ways to catch, but I think it's still catching up very well. I think couple of things to add in over here, and I've been observing India market very closely for years now, and I think one of the great things to talk about is about in-app purchases. Initially, we did feel that in-app purchases were taking up, and we are having a takeoff on in-app purchases, but not really. But definitely, ad monetization was a super successful model,
Yeah.
but in-app purchase monetization wasn't really picking up. But very lately, in last couple of years, I've been seeing that things have been doing really great. Just to come back on this with an example, I think our game Ludo game used to maybe a couple of years back, I'm saying we used to rank about in the 70s or the 80s of the Google Play Store in the grocery charts, and now we are kind of within the 15 top 15 apps on the
Yeah.
grocery charts, and now that's a great thing to have. To relate this, earlier the contribution from India was way low than what it is now, but now it is over 50% in India, and that's a really great number. I think we feel that we as an Indian company and driving a lot of monetization from India. That's great, and things have been showing great numbers there. Additionally, I think I'd like to add one more thing. We've been talking, things after COVID. I think one of those examples that it happened with Geo, right? A deal with Facebook, and so much of money getting pumped in the industry on the platforms.
Yeah.
Right? I think this is one way or the other. This is going to add a lot of players to the games industry, and it's going to open up the funnel even more
Yeah.
because in the next couple of years, I would say down the line, 3 to 5 years, I think India is the market which is going to be on every big publisher would want to take a piece of it.
Interesting, interesting. So let's largely cover some of those questions that I had. Now we're moving to Q&A from the audience side of it. I think, guys, if you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat window or the Q&A questions option to type in a question. So we have a question from Piyush from the audience. Could you stress more on the events that you capture for segmentation? So I think Piyush's question is, what are some of the events that you capture to segment the data?
So Piyush, as I said earlier, right? So segmentation definitely is what we focus on is in-game events. Now these in-game events are the ones that are kind of driven by these players who are playing it, and every progress is what we kind of monitor, or kind of send these events on our tracking tools. So based on which we kind of come up with how do we want to segment those players in different buckets, and probably strategize different kind of offers, or different kind of ad monetization strategy on it, or it could be a different introduction of a new feature. So I think it's it's again kind of dependent on the user base. So it's more to do with the in-game events that you kind of capture, and that's what I could say.
Interesting, interesting. So we'll give few more minutes for audience to pop question. My last question to audience today is, say, guys, we've helped a lot of brands with their app growth strategy. So if you guys are interested in learning more about how we can help you, feel free to answer the poll either as yes or probably perhaps later. We are happy to help out you guys. So, Clarence, one more question from my side. I think, I briefly asked this during our earlier discussion also. So how much time do you guys, be it personally you or from Gametion, do you guys spend on playing these games?
You're talking about Ludo King?
Yeah, be it Ludo or Carom or Sudoku,
So I think apart from workplaces, I think I participate almost an hour daily with my, or actually more than an hour daily with my family. Me, my wife, my daughter, my brother-in-law, we kind of sit together every evening. It's like probably from it starts from around 7:30 or so, and then it's a regular practice. It's like uh, we're not actually stepping out, and what do? We really need to take up, we need to have something that eats up time and really have fun time. So I think Ludo King, I think I play more of Ludo King. So I think we just because it gets us, as a family, it gets us together, and we spend a good amount of hour together daily. So that's fun.
Okay, so I think we have another question from Mayank in the audience. While scaling to these high DAUs, how on the platform or tech side of it, have you planned for issues or that may come up in operational efforts or tech efforts? So I think he's talking about the scale and the stability part of it. How you guys plan to manage these DAUs?
Right, Mayank. I think it's a very interesting topic, and you should definitely catch us with one of our other topics that I'm going to have covered in another webinar, which is happening on the 7th of July, and that's about AWS case study that we are doing with Ludo King on Amazon. But I think I will definitely, give a little bit of heads up of how things have been evolving for us, and it's a very you know a very sensitive topic where keeping yourself ready to kind of scale from a 15 million DAU to over a 15 million DAU, right? So I think a long back, after the release of our product in 2017 itself, we decided we had to, kind of build our
Yeah,
own backend, and using definitely AWS services, we have scaled it, and frankly, it has been doing really great. So I think fairly it has been stable. So earlier we were kind of locked in with a PaaS engine, but now since we are kind of using our own, so there is a lot of flexibility, and things have been pretty stable for us.
interesting, interesting. So, cool. We have another question coming from Brad. You talked about the rank or movement in Google Play Store, right? From say in the 70s to top 15. Did you guys use any ASO or some kind of app store optimization, or was it completely organic?
I think it's a very interesting topic. I think since the inception of this product, since the time this has kind of gone live to the players, uh, I think I don't remember if we really did marketing. I would say more than 97%, 98% of our product is actually you know uh, kind of organic, and that's we do not hear such things from in our gaming industry, and that's again magical with Ludo King. So I think fairly we have been doing a little bit on acquisition, but again that's purely strategy based to kind of learn different markets, or trying to learn different introduction of features and stuff like that. So not really focused on doing marketing much.
Interesting. So, one last question. I think considering the time, Clarence, personally, are you an outdoor person or an indoor person? Let's say, if it wasn't COVID, would you be jumping on the street playing cricket or some other game, or would you be spending more time on games like Ludo King? What would be your answer to that?
I think so. I, as a person, I love traveling and then getting into sports. But I think I love sports when it is something specific to digital. So I think Carom is one of those greatest examples that I can actually talk about, which actually keeps me engaged. Since due to the COVID, not really going out or being at home and playing Ludo King makes more sense. But when you have small sessions or small time when you want to like, kind of take a quickly pass on. So I think Carrom is what I digest on, a quick session of 3 to 5 minutes and just have fun. So it's purely skill based. So love that. Hope that answers.
Cool. Yep. So I think that's largely from the audience side of it also. So Clarence, before we wind up, what are some of your, if you have to say, hey, a closing note, or this is what I want audience to take away, what would be those top 2 or 3 points that you would recommend?
I think some things to definitely note on, right? I think we did have certain examples of setting up your own backend services and the right time when to scale up to those to that time when you have to build your own backend services. And since the numbers are huge and you need to be very anticipatory when it comes to planning your products to be released. um, Couple of other things would be listen to the players. I think they are the ones you're building the product for. I think truly at heart, you need to be, than trying to, kind of only juice out on monetization, than to, kind of focus on, kind of providing fun to these players. And that's where, more the engagement, more the monetization. And that's a simple note over here. Um, I think these would be the key takeaway points from my side.